Hello and welcome back to Through the Big Book with Dr. Ben. My name is Ben and I'm an alcoholic who is excited to start a fourth step. Yippee! Me too. We'll have a good time. So the fourth step is, it's much different from your first step, the second step, and the third step. This will be the first one where we're putting pen to paper. You've probably heard about it if you've made it to this video. But we're going to break it up into little bitty pieces and manageable bite sizes, and we're just going to focus on one little spot at a time. We're just going to do one component at a time and keep it really simple. Now, they aren't easy. The fourth step is not easy. AA is not easy. Otherwise, everybody would get it. But this is where the work really starts to me. It changes. So let's just dig right in here. It says, next, we launched out on a vigorous course of action, the first step of which is a personal house cleaning, which many of us have never attempted. Though our decision was a vital and crucial step, it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and to be rid of the things in ourselves which have been blocking us. Okay, so on the last page they said next, and on this one it says at once. So my sponsor would joke around and say those are our two options of when we start a fourth step, right? AA jokes. And so when they say blocking us, that's about receiving the power. That's about receiving God's power that we're talking about here. That's what we're blocked from. We're blocked from the sunlight of the Spirit. We're kept in this shade. We're kept in this icy cold with resentments. Or you could say in the heat, in the fire, in the passion of being pissed off at somebody. That's what we're trapped in. And we're blocked from God's love and from giving God's love and receiving love from others because we're just this shell of toxicity. So then it says, our liquor was but a symptom. So we had to get down to the causes and conditions. Now remember, the liquor was a symptom. We talked about it on a couple pages ago in the last episode. We talked about selfishness and self-centeredness. That's the root of our troubles, right? You guys remember that. So it says, therefore, we started upon a personal inventory. This was step 4. A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. Taking a commercial inventory is a fact-finding and a fact-facing process. It's an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade. Now, if I could sum up the fourth step in 3 words, discover the truth would be that. That's what we're looking for here. What is my truth? What is your truth? You will absolutely find out things about yourself that you probably never knew, and you never would have known without doing this. This is an incredibly effective and powerful step because, what do they say about the truth? The truth will set you free. And that's what we're looking for, right? Is freedom from bondage. So this is what lays out all the information for us. It says one object is to disclose damaged and unsaleable goods, to get rid of them promptly and without regret. If the owner of the business is to be successful, he cannot fool himself about values. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup which caused our failure. Being convinced that self, manifested in various ways, was what had defeated us, we considered its common manifestations. Now, I just want to point out something real quick. It's talking about we're searching out the things, the flaws. That's what I'm looking for here. I hear people say, well, you should also just write down all your assets too, because we don't want to beat yourself up. I'm not going to say that that's not effective. I did not do that. The book does not say to do that. I did not do that. To me, that's very similar to, let's say, if I'm in an emergency room and a patient's wheeled in that has a trauma, like a gunshot wound or a stab wound, and the dude is losing a lot of blood, and he's going to die within the next 10 minutes if we don't get him fluids and blood and etc., and some medication. the guy's going to die. And then I stop him and say, hey, let's talk about your great hair. You've got some really great hair, mister. And who does your nails? You really have a great laugh, too. And then we just sit there and chum it up talking about his great laugh and his great hair and stuff like that. And then the guy ends up dying. Well, sorry, that is ridiculous. We just do not do that. That's the same thing that's going on here to me. And this is my perspective. I'm just running off of my perspective of what the book's saying here. I was dying from a chronic progressive fatal disease. It wanted me to die. If you have alcoholism, it wants you to die. If you're suffering from drug addiction, it wants you to die. It doesn't care how nice I am or how smart I think I am or good looking or how many dollars I have in my bank account or my savings account. It wants me to die. So therefore, I want to find out what's the problem here. I'm losing a lot of fluids. I'm not breathing. In this case, boom. This is the stuff that we're focusing on in the 4-step. Does that make sense? We're finding out what the problems are here so we can solve them, not just blowing. Do you know what this is a serious deal. This is big time. This is emergency room stuff to me. So what does it say next? It says, resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. In my experience, I've probably sponsored between, I'm guessing 80 and 100 people. Something like that. Probably around, And I would say, of the people that have relapsed, this is absolutely spot on. Resentment is by far the number one offender. And of those, it seems to be that people get a resentment toward a relationship. They get pissed off at her or pissed off at him. Well, I'm just blah, 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 and I'm going to go drink at her. I'm just going to go escape from my anger and get drunk or get high, whatever the thing is. It's almost exclusively from that. Almost exclusively. It says, from it stem all forms of spiritual disease. For we've not only been mentally and physically ill, we've been spiritually sick. So that's the first time that we're starting to learn about this spiritual sickness. We've been talking about spiritual experience and spiritual awakening and the sunshine and rocketing in the fourth dimension, but we haven't talked about spiritual disease much yet. So that's where we're going to start looking at the 4-step, is where how our disease is presenting. So then it says, when the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. Now that is a pretty controversial thing to a lot of people. Now obviously, in the doctor's opinion, and somewhere else, I can't remember, actually I think it's just in the doctor's opinion twice, they talk about how people need to be removed from alcohol before this can be of maximum effect. Now, that still holds true in how it works. You still need to be alcohol-free before you can be going about these things and moving into working on your spiritual life. You can't be drunk and be trying to chip away at a 4th step. It just doesn't work that way. So this is assuming that you have, to me, that's the way I interpret it. It's assuming that you have cleared your body of alcohol and drugs, and now you're working on this spiritual malady. And then after that, then we can straighten out, the mental health will improve in most cases, in the exceeding majority of most cases. Now, there are things that can really show themselves once you clear up, like bipolar disease or schizophrenia and things like that. That's where these other mental health diseases are going to show up, or anxiety or depression. And those are real, legitimate medical diseases that have no reason to be talked about on this podcast, other than for me to say that if you're experiencing these things, absolutely go talk to a healthcare professional. Just because you're somebody in a AA clubhouse near you says, "Oh well, AA fixes everything," it does not. I have had people who have given everything. I'm currently working with somebody who is an absolutely consistent hard worker on this, and has had mental health troubles and has relapsed as a result of mental health troubles. And so as he has ironed that out, he hasn't been relapsing as much. Or, I'm sorry, as much, I misspoke, at all. He hasn't relapsed at all since he got that straightened out. So I just want to throw that out there. If your doctor tells you to quit taking something, a medication, a mental health medication, then quit taking it. If your sponsor tells you to quit taking something, do not listen to them. They have not gone to med school. If they have gone to med school and they're your sponsor, then they shouldn't be giving you medical advice anyway. AA is AA, and doctor stuff is for doctors. So by all means, I feel very passionate about that the two need to be separated. Anyways, and as far as the physically, I've seen some really miraculous things, including my sponsor, who has had trouble with multiple sclerosis, has been diagnosed and had multiple sclerosis, and had some really advanced things going on with him. You can see what all those are. And as he went through the amends process in the 9th step, which is not what we're talking about right now, but it is part of this overcoming the spiritual malady, he had miraculous health recovery that is medically not possible, unexplainable, and that's just one example. I mean, it's just crazy. The spiritual stuff is just above logic, as we learned in we agnostics. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to have very powerful logic and the ability to reason and figure out cool problems and all that stuff. But this is just beyond. This is beyond that. So, moving on, it says, in dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. That's exciting. So that's our first thing. So that's why whenever I go through my intro, I say all you need is a big book, a notebook, a pen, and a highlighter. Here we go. So I'm going to bust out my spiral notebook here and show you what we do next. It says, we listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry. Okay, so now this is all we're going to focus on today. Okay, so I'm going to grab my notebook here, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that and how I do it. So the first thing that we want to do is we turn the first page so that we have it hot dog style, as they say, as they taught us in elementary school or something. And so on the left page, we're going to write people's names, institutions, and principles with whom we were angry. Okay, so just to go through this here. Principles, it says what we think about ourselves, such as our values and our belief systems. Institutions is going to be like, I don't know, like the IRS or the institution of marriage or companies or school, something along those lines. But the names of people, that's just going to be, what I was taught to do here is anyone who's ever upset me. Whoa, Ben, what are you talking about? Anyone ever? Yes, I mean anyone ever. Anyone who has ever upset me. So I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to do my 4-step right here with you. So the first ones are almost invariably somebody's parents. It's going to be mom or dad or brother or sister. And then the second one, or the second phase, is going to be relationships generally. Now, you don't have to do it in this way. This is just what I see. The next ones are going to be like, oh, my girlfriend that broke my heart, or my ex-wife that didn't live up to my expectations or something, or my husband that was verbally abusive and squandered our money, and or was physically abusive, or was physically abusive to our kids and molested them or something like that. Like that's what we're looking for here. And then we're going to go to friends. Oh, my friend we'll call him Sam. Sam screwed me over. We were supposed to be bros, but he did this. And then my friend Thomas, I'm making these names up. My friend Thomas, took my dump truck from me on the playground. And then I turned the page. So forgive me, I've been a little unclear here. So at the top left of the page is somebody's name, right? Like mom. So you write down mom, turn the page, boom. Then you write down dad at the top left of that page, turn the page, boom. Little brother, turn the page. Big brother, turn the page. Sister, turn the page. Ex-girlfriend, turn the page. Ex-wife, turn the page. You see what I'm saying? At the top left, you're writing these people's names, and then you just keep going. I'm talking about little Timmy that pushed me down on the playground. F Timmy, write his ass down, throw him down on that paper. Get pumped up. If you need to listen to some music, you want to put some metal on or something and scream and get in the mood to do this. This is your time. Or you want to listen to some angry rap music or something. Whatever your thing is. My sponsor is a humongous Pantera fan. When he does his inventories, a lot of times when he's upset, he'll throw some Pantera on and do inventory, I kid you not, to Pantera. Highly effective stuff. So whatever you got to do, I don't care what it is that you got to do to put yourself in that headspace. This is your time to crap all this stuff out on the paper, to purge yourself of all this poison on paper. Turn the page. Who's next? Samantha, she made fun of me. Turn the page. This person, they were supposed to pick me up and they didn't. You're doing it with me right now. Let's just go. Turn the page. Who's next? What about that football team? That football team you hate. Put them down. Oh, that referee that made the bad call. Put him down. Boom. Turn the page. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, I know that this is like monotonous, but that is all we gotta do. This is it. One name, on the top left, turn the page. That basketball team, boom, that basketball player that left our organization high and dry, that we banked on turn the page. Wow, now what? Man, if you got to go to social media, if you need to look through your phone contacts, do it. Open up your social media, scan through there. Who else is in there? Scan through your phone book. Who are you going to find? Guarantee you're going to find some. Pretty much anybody almost that I'd ever known went down on my 4-step. This is a big list. It felt like, my gosh, why is all this stuff necessary? I'll tell you why it's necessary. The more information you can get on here, the more of your truth you are going to find. Just like in like in statistics, or biostatistics is what we take, and the more data you have, the more a trend will emerge, the more these trends will emerge. And that's what we're going to find at the end of this 4-step is big trends. Much like that Gaussian graph or the bell curve. You know what I'm saying? That big hump-looking graph where you have like the 50th percentile, etc., with the outliers. That's the kind of information putting everybody down is going to generate. So it's not just the haymakers. Whenever I used to teach 4-step workshops, I would say just focus on your haymakers. We're just looking to get this done. No, I don't do that anymore. Now, by all means, this is not a fun process. This is not fun to think about everyone who's ever pissed you off. Anger is a very intoxicating, powerful emotion, and it can really distract you. And so remember, we took a 3rd step for a reason. We made a decision to turn our life over to the care of God as we understand Him. God is with you in this process. God is with you right now. God has got your back. So lean on Him. Lean on God. Put Him to the test. If this is your first time to ever mess with this God stuff, then you were like me. You got a lot to discover. So give Him this. Give Him your anger during this process. Ask God, Search me and help me find the people who I'm upset with, who have ever upset me. I'm going through this process so I can be free of alcoholism once and for all. So put them to the test. This is your opportunity, and this is a very temporary thing. I want to remind you. So this will end. This is just one part of the 4-step, and it is kind of intense because you're pulling out all the old skeletons from the closet that you've been stashing for years. All the old little things that you swept under the rug. All the little crumbs in the couch, all that stuff. We're pulling it all out into the living room. Now, one of these things that my sponsor taught me that I thought was really cool was that we're kind of afraid to go into the darkness, into that dark closet, But here's the thing. Whenever I open up the closet door and it's dark in there, but I've got my light on in my room, what happens to that closet? It lights up. The light pours into the closet. I can even turn the closet light on, and now it's really lit up. You see? But the darkness doesn't pour out of the closet and mow me over and take over my whole room. The light always overpowers the darkness. All you got to do is just execute the fundamentals. Turn the light switch on. Bring the light in. Be prayerful about that moment is the way that I look at that. God, come into this moment. Let's bring some light in here. Let's light this place up. Let's light this thing up. Let's get it. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I don't want to kill myself and jump out this window because I'm drinking. I can't quit drinking because I have nothing else to live for. This is a whole new thing. Let's do this. Let's get after it like our life depends on it, and like the people who are coming after us, their lives depend on it. So you can tell my tone has changed in the 4-step. We're no longer talking about academics now. We're no longer talking about theories and all this stuff. Like, it's time to roll up your sleeves. It's time to get to work, and it's time to get into action and dig around in there. Let's get after it. So that is the first portion. Now, I usually give somebody 2 days to do that, and I will schedule an appointment with them 2 days out. So like today is Thursday. And so I would schedule something with them on Saturday. I would do it like on Saturday morning. So I would give them tonight and tomorrow to write down all their names, And I always like to have them, if you're a sponsor and you're taking somebody through this, I like to have them go ahead and write some down while I'm there with them, because it helps them to initiate, it helps them to break the inertia of taking the action in the first place, and it helps them to build momentum. And also, they'll know that the process that they're doing is right. All they have to do is continue to do the process that you taught them, and they will come out with the product that they can use, right, to continue on with the next thing. So by all means, I think it's really important to just show them exactly how to do this, because otherwise I cannot tell you how many varieties of 4th steps I've seen come back to me whenever I didn't help them start it, So this was a pretty intense episode, and I'm glad that you're here. If you made it to the end of this, it means that you're ready to get fired up and get a 4-step going. And if that's the case, then you're looking at finding some truth, and that is a big reward into itself. So I want to give you a big shout out from my heart. I'm really glad that you're here. I'm really glad that now you've done a 3rd step and you've got God with you. Now you can start praying. You can start doing that 3rd step prayer. You can start any kind of prayer you want. The Dr. Hal Voris, rest in peace, the man who taught me how to pray, said that his most effective prayer in the morning was please. And the one he did in the evening was thanks. That was it. And so that's how I started. I started my prayers with please because I didn't know how to do it. I had all these family members that could do these fancy prayers at the Thanksgiving dinner table and stuff, and I didn't know how to do that. I was really afraid to pray. But right now, this is the time to really do it. Prayer is a fundamental that we need to execute in the 4th step. So right now, I encourage you to pray through this 4th step. and give this stuff to God. That's what God's there for, is to take this stuff from us. So I really hope that this was helpful, and knock it out. Give yourself 2 days if you're going through this with me. Give yourself 2 days, but do not, forgive me, but don't bullshit on this. Don't sit around and put it off. Like, sit down, knock it out now. Get it done, and that way we can move on. So in the next one, we will be moving on with the next portion of the 4-step. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. It really means a lot. And if it's helping you, I encourage you to share it with somebody that you're in the program with. You don't have to like or subscribe or whatever. If you want to, that's cool. But I just hope that this helps you. And if it helps you, then pass it on to somebody that you think that it can help as well. So, and just one closing thought, I want to bring up the point of pen and paper. So I did mine on an iPad Pro, with a little pencil or whatever, and that's what I use. I use it for school and class and stuff. This last 4-step, because I've done several. This last 4-step that I did with Josh, I did on paper. I did it in a spiral notebook, just like I'm going to be showing you in this episode. I think that there's something about it, it's just nice to have, because we'll also be doing our 8-step with it. But I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it on an iPad or on an Excel sheet or however it is that you want to do it. As long as you're organizing in the same manner that I'm showing you, that's fine. Somebody gave me a hard time about doing it on an iPad, and said, well, you got to do it on paper. It's not effective. And I said, well, why don't I just do it and etch it in stone? I'll go get a hammer and etch it in stone, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. You're just getting it out of your body, getting it out of your soul and onto something, to where it's organized. It's just if it's easiest to read. Whenever we move forward to the 5th step, it's easiest to read if you do it in the layout that I'm showing you. But there's really not like a wrong way I shouldn't say wrong way. There's plenty of wrong ways. There's not a wrong format as far as like, or interface. That's what I'm looking for. There's not a wrong interface to do a 4-step on. So I hope that helps. I'll see you on the next episode.